Pucci,
Here.
Mary Belbeer,
Here.
Kevin Tansky,
Here.
Andy Selhertz,
Here.
Katie Gallagher, Tony DeMarco,
Here.
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, have minutes to approve. First, let's approve the minutes from January 27th.
Move to approve.
Kevin Tansky,
Abstain.
Andy Selhertz,
Abstain.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes for January 28th.
Move to approve.
Second.
To approve the minutes of January 28th, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Abstain.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from January 30th.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that in my comments preceding, I had indicated that the time of the meeting had been changed from the original time, and that's, why I was literally on my way to work. So I just wanted that included. Move to approve as amended.
Second.
To approve the minutes of January 30th as amended, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Abstain.
Katie Gallagher,
Abstain.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with our council meeting. Good evening, everybody. We apologize for the delay. On behalf of all council, I'd like to express my condolences to the family of Mayor Bizel.
Basilides.
Correct. I'm sorry. I was going to butcher that. Who passed away last week. Mary was an active member of St. Thomas More and the Women's Guild. Our Economic Development Director, Fran Miglerino, led the first resident work group on behalf of the Marketing Steering Committee on February 11th. There were many great ideas as well as a list of resident concerns to work on in our community. As city leaders, it's tough to hear the reality sometimes, including the negatives about Brooklyn. But on the bright side, almost every negative issue brought up by the focus group, there was something in the works in our city right now to address the issue. This group was the first of many work sessions, and more letters will be going out inviting residents to participate in the campaign to improve Brooklyn. On February 13th, the mayor held the State of the City in the Chamber of Commerce, and again on February 21st at the Democratic Club. Thankfully, the mayor was able to share a lot of great news leaving 2013 and a list of great things to look forward to in 2014. The Chamber of Commerce hosted the Taste of Brooklyn on February 22nd. It was a terrific event and a great mix of so many wonderful things that make up Brooklyn. The school jazz band sounded terrific. The food sponsored by many of the Brooklyn restaurants tasted wonderful, and the proceeds benefited a scholarship program that will help Brooklyn students off to college next year. The deadline for the scholarship program is April 4th, and for more information on the criteria to apply, please go to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce website at brooklynohiochamber.org. Tomorrow, February 25th, Council will hold a budget work session with the Mayor and Finance Director at 6:30 p.m. in the City Hall Conference Room. All are welcome. Tonight's agenda includes a resolution to accept the fact finder's recommendation regarding the collective bargaining agreement between the City and the International Association of Firefighters Local 1145. At the request of the Mayor and Law Director, Council will adjourn to executive session prior to voting on this matter. This executive session may be lengthy, and we are going to hold it at the end of the meeting. We will adjourn to vote on the matter. At this time, we will have the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the City of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, including your city, and you will be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Good evening, members of council, mayor, department heads, residents of the city.
My question for council is tonight when you're voting on that fact finders meeting, if you actually all understand exactly what you're voting for.
Please say your name.
Oh, sorry. Herb Brunkoltz. I'm a member of Local 1145 of the Brooklyn Firefighters.
Your address.
5230 Summerwood Drive, Seville.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyway, my question is, I want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're voting on tonight with the fact finders report. And also, it's going to be public record, so we'd like to know how you're voting. So, thank you very much.
Tom Adamski, 9625 Melody Lane. I'm here to council again to continue find a resolution about the problems on Idlewood. I want to remind council of comments that were made by Mrs. Pucci and Mr. Van Kirk. Mrs. Pucci said she had contacted State Representative Skindell because there was legislation about the cameras. And his comment was that he wasn't going to intervene, that it should be home rule, and rightfully so. In the last few years, I have come to this council, and the issue's been sidestepped. I think the time has come to find a resolution. Mr. Van Kirk, I think you're the right person to be the chairperson of the safety. You mentioned that you were going to have a meeting on this issue, and I think that's very important. I would ask that you contact a representative of one of the mobile cameras, find out if there is a long-term or short-term contract, and to discuss the matters, or whether or not there's no proprietary, whether the city could invest in a body unit. Obviously, my concern is Idlewood, but there's other areas that could be used, namely a bit off and Rodale and other streets. The time has come, and one thing that bothers me still is I think the solution is to have the stop sign Melody Lane, but that continues to be a legal quagmire apparently. If council can't come up even with this technicality about the cameras, then my suggestion is that after the end of the winter, that they put up signs and put a speed bump as a temporary solution. Something has to be done to stop the flow of traffic, especially during the construction period. Thank you.
My name is Marissa Hahn. I'm at 8608 Ansonia Avenue in Brooklyn. I am a senior at Brooklyn High School this year, and I'm one of the leads in Annie, which is the last high school musical that I will be a part of. I joined the BHS drama department as a member of the pit in 7th grade, and I did 4 musicals from the pit, and last year I joined the cast as the narrator in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This year I'm playing the role of Miss Hannigan, the mean woman who runs the orphanage in Annie. If you haven't seen Annie, seeing it at the high school would be a great idea. We will have 4 performances on March 6th, 7th, and 8th at 7 on all 3 nights, and there will be a matinee at 2 on Saturday. Tickets will be $7 for the evening shows and $5 for the matinee. If you didn't get a chance to see Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat last year, make sure you don't miss out on another outstanding musical put on by our drama club. The cast, pit band, and crew has put in many hours of rehearsing, and we would love it if as many people as possible could come and see us. This would have been one of the extracurriculars in danger of being cut with the failure of the levy, so I would like to personally thank the voters who went out and voted yes. Without you, I, along with my peers, would not have had the opportunity to be a part of such an awesome program. We hope to see you there on March 6th, 7th, and 8th. Thank you for your time, and have a wonderful evening.
Hi, my name is Haley Quintiliano. I'm at 9724 Memphis Villas Boulevard in Brooklyn. I'm also a senior this year on the cast of Annie, and I play Annie. And I just want to come and invite you all to come see the show. everybody's put in a lot of work for this. Our director, the pit band, the crew, the cast, everybody's put in so much work for this. Like Marissa said, it's $7. There's 4 shows, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. We would love to see all of you guys come out and see us. It's going to be a wonderful performance. Everybody is so prepared. We're all ready. We're all excited. And this is the first year that I've been in the drama club. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the people that are in it, the people that directed it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that voted yes for the levy. It really means a lot to everybody. It means a lot to the students who, thrive off of their academics, but not only their academics, off of their sports, off the drama club. So I just want to say, a special thank you to everybody who voted yes.
Hello, I'm Esma, 4161 Westbrook Drive, also in Brooklyn, and I'm here on behalf of Brooklyn High School Drama Club and the music department. And I'm also been a part of Drama Club for 4 years, and I find it like a very amazing experience. And this year I'm a student director, which means I'm a part of like everything from backstage to on stage. And I would also like to invite the senior citizens to come join us on March 6th at 9 a.m. we're going to do a dress rehearsal of Act 1, and after will be a breakfast at the after the preview, and I would really enjoy it if you guys would come, and thank you so much for the voters who voted yes for the levy.
I'm Cynthia Walker, the school superintendent, and I live at 4600 Pinewood Path, Copley, Ohio. And although this wasn't choreographed, I loved seeing these 3 young ladies who came today. And if you want to see more about them, they actually taped Let's Talk Brooklyn with me this afternoon. They were my guests on the show, and here they are tonight. I would like to reiterate what they've said about the play and have everybody come to the play the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and especially what Esma said about the Senior Citizen Breakfast. This is our 6th annual Senior Citizen Breakfast, and I would ask anybody that wanted to come and bring their friends to call 216-485-8112. Mrs. Laura Baker is my secretary. Everything is free. We just want to make sure that we have enough breakfast food for everybody. So I would like to invite all of our seniors again to our 6th annual Senior Citizen Breakfast and Play Preview. In addition, there are a few other dates that I would like to share. On March 11th at 5:30, we will be doing tours of the vocational wing, the old vocational wing, which will be the first part of the demolition. So if anybody is interested in seeing the first part of the demolition, the old vocational wing, meet in the lobby at 5:30 on March 11th. In addition, there will be another music program on March 13th in the auditorium at 7 p.m. And then we will have our 2nd annual Support Our Schools Spaghetti Dinner that will be from 4 o'clock to 7 p.m. in the high school cafeteria on April 5th. It was a rousing success last year. Our board members, our administrators, teachers, parents, so many of our staff members were there, and we would like to invite everybody again to the 2nd annual spaghetti dinner. There'll be sideboards and dinner and lots of fun and entertainment from the students in the lobby there. So we'd love everybody to come out on April 5th and join us. I have to reiterate what the girls say. Once again, we do have a renewal this year. It was a levy originally passed 20 years ago, and it's been renewed every 5 years since then. So thank you, Brooklyn, for your continued support, and we hope to see you at the many events coming up. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Mladenale. I live at 7419 Brookside Drive. I want to mention that the first 2014 meeting of the Laurel Garden Club of Brooklyn will be held on Tuesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. in the community room of the Brooklyn Fire Station. The Laurel Garden Club is organized for educational purposes and charitable contributions. One example of that is the sponsoring of the VeggieU program that was in the elementary school last year and will be again this year. The program teaches students about gardening and encourages trying different vegetables. If you enjoy gardening, be it flowers or vegetables, I invite you to attend. You do not need to be an expert. All levels of interest and expertise and experience are welcome. Our meetings include education, an occasional guest speaker, and planning projects such as our annual plant sale. The meeting on the 11th is our welcome back tea. So bring your teacup, wear a hat if you choose, and join us. There is no obligation. Just come see what we are about. I hope to see you there.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor, City Councilman, everyone. Victor Ardito, 7439 Outlook Avenue. I'd like to bring the same thing up again. I've brought up a couple weeks now. Is the salt that we're spreading like crazy. No matter what, all the side streets, the flat ones all get done. Perfect example, we got a microphone that hasn't worked for weeks. Money like that can salt, to me, can go with that. We have money that we have to spend on salt or we lose it. Plenty of other cities do the same thing. They don't salt every street. And again, there's a school renewal levy asking for. It's money. Everybody's not getting raises. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Department Heads. My name is Patrick Schmitz. I live at 6508 Archmere. A couple weeks ago, my wife and I were thinking about getting chickens. I know it's an off-the-wall topic, but I learned in this city we do not allow them at this time. So I did some research and I started what's called Hens in Brooklyn. Hens in Brooklyn is attempting to join the local national movements on backyard chickens. Communities neighboring Brooklyn have allowed backyard chickens for many years now. The latest city in 2013 to allow chickens is Cleveland Heights, and has gone off without a hitch. Cleveland in 2009 passed their ordinance with no major problems to report to date. There will be an informational meeting coming up in the near future. These meetings will dispose of the many myths of having chickens in the city. The meetings will also go over the many benefits of having your own chickens. For upcoming dates and meetings, to learn more about Hens in Brooklyn, you can find us at Hens in Brooklyn on Facebook. I also brought some literature on the 7 major myths about having urban chickens. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to say for the good and welfare of Brooklyn? Okay, we'll move on to reports from committees, commissions, and boards. First up, Mrs. Pucci from the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Finance Committee did meet earlier this evening at 6:30 and addressed the following items. Ordinances 2014-4 and 5. These are up for third reading and adoption. I've already reported on this in the past. Basically, it handles a name change and also allows an expansion of a CRA for an addition. Resolution 2014-1 will be discussed in executive session, and the question was posed, do we understand what we're voting on? And the law director will be giving us an explanation this evening. Ordinance 2014-10, which is on first reading. This is our permanent appropriations for our permanent budget, and we're going to have a more detailed meeting tomorrow in our budget work session, which Ms. Gallagher already announced. Ordinance 2014-11, contract with CEC for services relating to our landfill, not to exceed $35,150, and that'll be passed by emergency measure because they need to respond to some correspondence from the EPA. Ordinance 2014-12 is on first reading. This proposes a change to the distribution in our municipal income tax. And ordinance 2014-4, which will be up for emergency measure this evening, authorizing the purchase of the vacant lot at the corner of Memphis and Brookway. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Tansky, Recreation Board.
Thank you. Learn to swim registration information. Register during regular business hours. Resident cost $45, non-resident $60. Carmel Heights $52.50. Classes are Monday and Wednesday evenings starting March 11th. They will be 9 weeks long. Swim team registration information. Register during regular business hours. Residents, $65. Non-residents, $90. Carmel Heights, $77.50. Join us on Facebook and be a fan of the Brooklyn Recreation Center. The next Recreation Board meeting will be held on March 17th at 7 p.m. in the Mayor's Court. That concludes my report.
School Board Liaison, Mr. Selverts.
Thank you. As Annie mentioned, and the rest of her cast members, there is going to be the production on the beginning of March, on March 6th, 7th, and 8th. They explained all the details to you. Please attend it. Back in my days in high school, which is a while ago, we actually had a gentleman by the name of Kevin Rupnick back in 1972 and 73. If any of you watched The Sound of Music, you might have noticed that he was actually the art director. He also participated in the productions at Bad Brooklyn High School. As Mrs. Walker mentioned, there's going to be a pre-demolition tour of the high school wing on March 11th at 5:30 p.m. If you wish to attend and go see the high school vocational wing for one last time, meet at the Board of Education office entrance at 5:30 p.m. Coming up on Support Our Schools, the second annual Levy Spaghetti Dinner, once again, as mentioned before, is going to be on Saturday, April 5th, 2014. Contact Jennifer O'Banion looking for tickets, volunteers, any kind of support. Get a hold of her. She's a good lady to know about that. She's actually the school board president. Speaking of food, as Mrs. Gallagher mentioned, the Taste of Brooklyn was held this past weekend. Over 185 people attended. Amount of revenue was a little bit over $5,700 going towards the scholarship fund, so it was a good event. The Board of Education held their monthly meeting on Tuesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. in room 173. Items discussed and approved include the naming of honor roll and merit roll students for second quarter for grades 5 through 12. The Board of Education approved the overnight trip to Wuhan, China from March 9th through 21st, and also several personnel matters were approved, which also included supplemental coaching assignments for the 2013-2014 school year. The next regular Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 18th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in room 173 at the high school. Please attend these meetings. The next year and a half is going to be a busy year for the school system. Your involvement is probably needed and appreciated, even more so if you're one of the neighbors or the neighboring streets with all the construction vehicles going through. I've talked to a number of members of the school board and also one or two people on the school administration about the possibility of having announced through their Leader Alert network to make the community aware of meetings taking place during the school year. With this next 2015, 2016, and even now with this year, with all the construction going on and special meetings being held by the outside contractors and the architects, this is your chance to get involved with it. Plans and the drawings have already been developed, but at least you can still try to get some input. To that point, a meeting was held on Thursday, February 20th at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium at the high school. Notices by ICON, the construction manager, were sent to neighbors surrounding the school where the construction will take place. About 20 people were in attendance in the audience, which included 2 school members and 2 city council members. This meeting ended approximately 8 p.m. after a half-hour presentation by ICON, which was followed by a question and answer session. Here are some of the points presented by ICON. The project, which normally should take about 22 months due to the scope of work, is going to be compressed into 16 or 17 months to be done by the start of the 2015-2016 school year. Work hours by the contractors will be flexible as not to interfere with school operations while school is in session. Work hours may be either earlier or later. They're going to have staggered work hours to not interfere with drop-offs and pickup of students. During the summer, there will be extended work hours and also potential work on weekends. Construction traffic should be primarily coming in from Bearable. Construction deliveries are going to be staggered to be coming in from Garwold, Southwood, and Biddulph. ICON, in trying to be a good neighbor in this whole process, is going to be implementing noise and dust guidelines. They're also going to try to urge residents to get a hold of them immediately to resolve if there are any issues or problems. We do have a couple of names of people you can contact for that. Problems that might be if you have construction vehicles parked in your home in front of your home for too long or whatever else, or if they're driving on your tree lawn, anything else. To get more information about the project, you can look at ICON's website at iconohio.com. They're also going to have a construction webcam that gets updated every 2 minutes so you can watch the progress on the construction process. In May 2014, the bulk of the construction is scheduled to be bid out. There will be a set bidding process. The set qualifications are met, but the process will also encourage local involvement from contractors who, even though they may be small, could act as a subcontractor to one of the main contractors. The question and answer period covered a number of issues. Of great concern to the residents on Garwold, whose property is adjoining the school, is the grading of the property and correcting drainage problems. There will be a detention basin on the school property to handle excess amounts of water so that the stormwater system is not overloaded. There was also a discussion about fencing that is proposed for the detention pond. One of the residents over this past weekend issued an email to various members of City Council with some photographs. As soon as I got it, I passed it on to the building commissioner, and he has also forwarded it on to the architects. So hopefully we can try to come to some kind of resolution on this issue. Parking lot lights will be directed in as not to minimize any potential problems on the neighbors. Traffic control problems were discussed both at staging and arrival and dismissal times. There will be an amount of money that is going to be kept in a contingency fund to take care of damage that may be done to the surrounding streets due to construction. Some sections of streets will be needed to be dug up due to get to access to sewer and other utility connections. Rodone and Brookridge eventually will be torn down. That area will consist of the current stadium and baseball field, in addition to other athletic fields. No actual site plan has yet been developed. Within the field house, there will be a walking track that is anticipated that the public will be able to use. The school system is also looking into other revenue sources by holding events at the gym and field house. For those that did not attend the meeting, I provided out in the lobby here, and I have additional copies, a flyer that was presented by ICON, and that's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, Andy. On Thursday, March 6th at 6 p.m., the Planning Commission will meet at Brooklyn City Hall Conference Room to hear a request from Yvette Shrey Thompson for a similar use, conditional use for RB District for a child daycare center located at 7405 Memphis Avenue, permanent parcel 432-25004. To hear a request from Archer Corporation to install an illuminated wall-mounted sign located at 7020 Biddulph Road for business identification of Cricket, permanent parcel 432-28001. And lastly, to hear a request from Global Signs and Graphics Incorporated to install an illuminated wall-mounted signs located at 5020 Tiedemann Road for business identification of Buffalo Wild Rings, permanent parcel 433-09005. Now we'll move on to reports from council. Kathy Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. Safe Routes to School met February 13th, and this was strictly relating to the infrastructure grant for $174,000. Because of the school building project and the fact that numerous improvement areas will either no longer be existing, for example at Brookridge, or be dramatically altered, such as at the middle school, they are going to rescind the grant. They did encourage us to reapply for 2016 once the building project is completed. And because of the circumstances, they will not hold this against us during future rounds of funding. I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce. I attended 2 of their events over the past 2 weeks. The first was on February 13th, the State of the City, and I'd like to thank the mayor for doing that. This was hosted by Westbrook Village Apartments, and I'd like to thank Denise Christacue and her staff for their hospitality. I also attended the Taste of Brooklyn this past Saturday night. I've been to most of them over the past 8 years, and every year they break a record in attendance and money raised, which Mr. Selhert's already reported on. Just a personal thanks to everyone who sponsored it, plus all of our local restaurants. Because everything is donated, they're able to raise most of the money to go to the scholarships. I also attended the school meeting that Mr. Selhertz was at, and he gave a very comprehensive report. The only other thing I would stress is I did see a real commitment on both the school's part and also the contractor to address any and all concerns that residents have. So any questions you have, even at this point, especially if you do live in the affected area, please do not hesitate to contact them. I would also like to thank the students who spoke this evening. I've been to most of the musical performances, and I would encourage all residents to attend, whether it's the seniors going to the preview along with the breakfast or anybody else going to the full performances. You will be absolutely amazed at the level of talent that our students have. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Mary Belbeer.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Once again, a special thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for the great job they did orchestrating A Taste of Brooklyn this past Saturday night. There were many restaurants represented, all serving their signature dishes, all very delicious. The entertainment that was provided was by the Brooklyn High School Jazz Band, under the dedicated direction of the music teacher, Sean Sullivan. The evening was enjoyable. The Chamber was able to raise money for scholarships. It was such a nice evening, just visiting with neighbors and friends. I can honestly say a great fellowship night. I encourage all to attend next year and make this event even bigger. Kudos to the Jazz Band. The cold may be still lingering in Northeast Ohio, but summer is just around the corner, and it's not too early to start thinking about signing your kids up for summer day camp at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. Registration begins March 15th for the general public. The zoo's summer day camp runs from June 9th through August 15th in different week-long sessions, each focusing on a new theme. The sessions are available in half days or full days. The zoo's summer camp is geared for children ages 5 to 14 with a special new half-day nature play camp for kids ages 3 to 4. Campers are grouped according to age to provide a safe and nurturing learning environment. The camp creates compelling experiences that connect children with wildlife and inspire personal responsibility for conserving the natural world. Campers participate in fun and educational activities with experienced camp counselors while learning about wildlife and the environment. Older campers in the age group of 11 to 12 can learn about wildlife biology while exploring the zoo and the Brookside Reservation. Another option for those in the 11 to 14 age group is the Emerald Necklace, a day camp sampler of the entire Cleveland Metro Parks. Campers explore the zoo and take field trips to other areas of the park district to hike, canoe, learn the basics of golf, and more. Space is limited, so early registration is really encouraged, so you don't want to be shut out. So the best thing to do is to go on the website, the Cleveland Metro Parks website, and investigate it there, or you can actually call the Metro Parks at 661-6500. We all have a wonderful zoo here right at our doorsteps, so it's a great idea just to take advantage of it. Also, the Cleveland Metro Parks is looking for to fill seasonal positions at 3 upcoming job fairs. The jobs are jobs such as counseling, being a guest service associate, junior camp counselor, senior camp counselor, lifeguard positions, actually being a zoo cashier, or even a transporter at the zoo. So if anyone is interested in that, they can go on the Cleveland Metro Parks website or look up the marketing representative there, which would be Holly Keck, and call her at 635-3253. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Kevin Tansky.
Thank you. Ordinance 2014-13, entering adjoining property. I have introduced this ordinance to allow residents and landlords to maintain their property using, if needed, adjoining property next door without resistance from said neighbor. Residents may have a fence or structure of some sort that needs to be maintained either from deterioration or reconstruction and needs to enter the property next to or in the backyard. This is in part to maintain our city's appearance and property value. City negotiated multiple union contracts and spent $75,000 plus of our city tax dollars negotiating these contracts. I have asked many times over, and nor did I see not one major article in these contracts that the city benefited in some major monetary way. Other than hospitalization, that was not an issue or even holding any negotiations to an impasse. I was against subcontracting out to an outside attorney in the beginning, and I'm still highly against it. The city could have easily gone to federal mediation, which would have cost the city far less. Even if the city resulted in the same outcome, the city would still be $75,000 ahead. I would sincerely hope on the next round of negotiations or wage reopeners, understanding what just happened, would be more open to reconsider their position on spending ridiculous amounts of city tax dollars on outside attorney fees, and let our experienced attorney handle these contracts. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Andy Selhertz.
Thank you. My condolences go out to Greg Booth and his family on the passing of his mother, Ruth Booth. As I mentioned in the first meeting I was at, I'm still trying to work with the Brecksville Service Department, meeting with their director on trying to determine how they use their automated leaf collection vehicle. And what I'm talking about is a system similar to what we have, the one-armed trash collection system here in Brooklyn. With Brecksville, they've used it for, the first time was in 2010, they obtained a unit. In 2013, they also obtained a second unit. The vacuum unit itself is a one-man operation replacing 4 people at work. The unit costs roughly about $60,000. It's put on a truck chassis for the fall season. When it's not in use, they pull the vacuum unit off and actually put on the salt bed. And there's a plow in the front of the truck so you can have multiple uses. I've mentioned this idea to Mr. Verba, and he's willing to take a look at it. The problem is with the past few weeks or the past months, we've had the snow and everybody's been busy. But as soon as the weather breaks, we're going to try to at least take a look, see how they use this, and if we can implement it, try to save some money and actually free up the personnel to do other tasks in this city to get it back up to snuff. I'm also working on a couple other things with 2 other cities at the moment, and as Mrs. Walker mentioned, there is the school renewal levy that's going to be coming up in May. It's for 6 years, 6.7 mils. It generates $2.175 million per year, and according to Mr. Hopkins, their treasurer, it generates about 12 to 13% of their general fund. So you're going to be hearing about that in the coming months up to the election time. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Tony DeMarco.
We, as been mentioned, we've had a couple meetings regarding the budget. And, I got on council, it's been about 4.5 years now. When I got on, we were not in good financial shape. So thanks to the efforts of our employees, the administration, and both prior councils, the city is in very good shape today. But my concern is, as I've been saying for a long time, is what is our plan for the future? What is the future vision for the city of Brooklyn. So I'm very hopeful that in this process over the next several weeks, we'll not only come up with a budget for this year, but something that looks to the medium and long-term future of the city of Brooklyn. Speaking of vision and in the city of Brooklyn, I was a proponent of the school levy for the construction of the new building, and I would encourage all residents to consider your situation and consider the value of our school system in the city of Brooklyn. And I absolutely support the renewal levy, and I hope that all residents will do that as well. And finally, Mr. Tansky's comments regarding use of outside counsel, I don't agree with them at all. The city of Brooklyn actually did receive benefit for the outside counsel that we did utilize and engage. Negotiation is a very long and back and forth process. We're not privy to every conversation that was had, but Mr. Tansky, if you want some detail, I'm sure you can talk to our law director and he can provide that to you. But at the end of the day, I feel that the dollars spent on outside counsel were very well spent, and I would support that in the future. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ron Van Kirk.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher. Good evening, and thanks for taking time to be part of your city council meeting tonight. As discussed last meeting, I've been in contact with some companies regarding controlling the speeding vehicles in Idawood that Mr. Adamski brought up again. I understand from the police chief that traffic tickets have decreased dramatically in that area, for which obviously we're all grateful. However, with the spring weather, hopefully just around the corner, and construction on Ridge Road ramping up, there will be much more traffic in that neighborhood. And our police obviously cannot sit there all day long monitoring traffic. So with that in mind, we will hold a safety committee meeting on Thursday, March the 20th at 7 p.m. to once again discuss this issue. Again, that's Thursday, March 20th at 7 p.m. I invite all residents of the city of Brooklyn to attend this meeting. I especially invite the residents that live in the Idlewood neighborhood to be there. My plan is to have representatives from companies that I've spoken to regarding various options for controlling speed. Safety is the #1 priority here. If representatives are able to come to that meeting, they'll explain the various solutions. Once they are finished, you will have a chance to ask questions and to voice your concerns about this program. This program works the way that I think it can permanently solve the problem in Idlewood and free up our police officers to handle other issues. If you have any questions about this meeting or any other concerns you have as far as safety goes, please feel free to give me a call at 216-965-5737. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now hear from the mayor.
Thank you. I received a letter from NOPEC, and I think every resident's also going to receive the letter. The city of Brooklyn belongs to NOPEC for both our gas and electricity, and they represent a half a dozen counties. And every 2 years they have to notify you if you want to opt out. This year they're changing suppliers for gas. It'll be called the Next Era Energy. And you have until March 7th if you want to opt out. If you don't, if you want to stay with NOPEC, then you don't have to do anything. The fire department turned in their annual report for 2013. There were 573 fire alarms, 1,655 EMS calls, for a combined total of 2,228 requests for service. Fire loss in the city of Brooklyn in 2013 was $899,175. One civilian was injured in a fire, and we had one civilian fatality in a fire in Brooklyn last year. No firemen were injured. This has been a hard winter on our equipment with the service department, but our mechanics have been able to keep everything running, and our salt supply is fine. And as far as I know, we haven't had any flooding. Last Thursday, the council president and myself attended an economic development seminar at Independence, and there was a lot of speakers there from the Federal Reserve Bank, Jobs Ohio, Team Neo, real estate, economic development directors from Akron, Cuyahoga County, and Solon, Panhandle from Squire, Sanders, and Dempsey, and an organization called Global Cleveland. In this organization, Global Cleveland, they were the last speakers. Their sole purpose is to increase the population of Greater Cleveland. That's their goal. But they do other things, and the thing that caught my attention was they have a website, and if you're looking for a job, you go on their website. I went on globalcleveland.net, and you put in the kind of job you're looking for. So just as an experiment, I put in welders, and you put the city that you're looking at, I put Cleveland, and then the third column is how many miles within Cleveland would you be willing to go for this job? And I punched in 50 miles. A list came up with 115 job openings for a welder. I thought it was pretty good. And it named almost every city, you know, Lorraine, Vermillion, all over. So, and they told us they want us to push this because not too many know about it. So they go to globalcleveland.net and go to the jobs. And that's all you do is enter the kind of job you're looking for. It worked out very well. I received a call from a resident, and he wanted to know if we could do anything at Tiedemann and Memphis at the sled riding hill in Metro Parks. He was an elderly gentleman. He said he takes his 2 grandkids there. He says, and we all know that hundreds of kids use this since I was a little kid. Everybody uses that hill. And he wants to know why they don't ever invest any money. So I called the Metro Parks, and they're looking into it. In the spring, they may do things like add benches up there, and maybe put some lights for at nighttime, and add some more parking. So hopefully they're going to do it. And I also gave them the name of this gentleman, and they've contacted him, so he's all excited. This ordinance tonight that Mr. Tansky's introducing, 2014-13, I remember when I was a policeman, we could have used this. A man called, I remember the one, he called up and said he wants to complain about his neighbor. He never paints the side of the garage. So I went over there, and the 3 sides were painted, but the one towards this person's property was all peeled and it looked horrible. I says, why don't you paint the other side of the garage? And he told me, he says, he won't let me on the property to do it. So I went back to the complainant, I says, he said he's willing to do it, but you won't let him on the property. He says, that's right, that's his problem. You know, so you couldn't win, but if you had an ordinance like this, that's exactly what he said. He said that's his problem, but he was still complaining about it. So if you had an ordinance like this in place, then I think it would correct that. The only thing I noticed when I read the ordinance, there should be some type of a permission there where you let the person know you're going to come on their property, because maybe he has something he's doing that day or something there. So I think if we add something like that onto it, I think the ordinance would benefit. And that's all I have.
We'll now move on to director reports. We'll hear from Finance Director Dan Enovich.
President Pucci, President Gallagher, members of council. I'd like to report tonight on the ordinance 2014-10, probably one of the most important pieces of legislation that you'll deal with in the year. This is a continuation of the budget process which began in November. I introduced ordinance 2013-72, said this would be your cornerstone for the foundation of the budget process for this year. This is now the permanent appropriation ordinance. It builds upon that legislation, adding primarily the capital budget, and also it discusses the anticipated revenues. So the legislation tonight will establish the budget for 2014 by identifying the expected resources for the period and establishing the allocation of those resources. The general fund, let me back up. We discussed this in our finance committee meeting, simply put as a budget for your house or your home. You'd start with, you know how much money you have in January, you know how much money you're going to take in during the year, you have your fixed costs, your mortgages, your car payments, and you know what you have left to do home improvements or processes like that. So the mayor and I approached this process in the same manner, taking that analogy just a couple steps further. So the city's starting the year with about $8.7 million in their general fund. And for planning purposes, we kept our estimated revenues for the general fund as well as all the other funds flat with 2013. This is assuming that what we've received in tax revenue we will maintain. We don't expect any major losses. Keep in mind also, we're already well into the first quarter of 2014. We've only got 9 months to go. We expect that we will not see a major exit of any large taxpayer between now and the end of the year, but also we have no large employer on the horizon for 2014. So based on that, we're keeping our revenue projections flat for 2013. However, that being said, the revenue stream will be adjusted if needed during 2014 as any patterns of change do occur. This budget process is dynamic. It continues to change. We had the initial budget presented in November. This is the permanent budget. We have 4 amendments which we will need to participate in between now and the end of the year. So as the dynamic motion of this budget changes, so will the legislation. So that being said, the revenues for 2014 are projected to be approximately $20,800,000. This is from all sources. $16,700,000 from the RETA taxes, $1.5 million from the general property taxes. Now that's significant. We got $16.7 million coming from our taxpayers. I think 80 to 90% of that comes from taxpayers that live outside the city of Brooklyn and come into Brooklyn to work. 1.5 million is all the city gets from the property taxes. We have about 142,000 in shared local taxes. We get shares of the gasoline tax that comes through, which is earmarked for road improvement, license plates taxes, things like that. These are our major sources of tax revenue. That's our income. So we're projecting about $20 million in income for the year. Categories for expenditures include our general fund, which is the operation of the day-to-day business of running the city. Primarily, largest percentage of those expenditures are salary and wages. Primarily, the largest contributor to those expenses are the safety forces, the police and fire departments. General fund expenditures for 2014 are projected at $15,947,000. Out of the wages and benefits out of the general fund, we project that we will be spending $10.8 million in wages and benefits. This represents about a 5% increase over 2013. Staffing levels are projected to remain the same. We have 201 full-time equivalent employees at the end of 2013. We're projecting that to stay the same until discussions with council and the directors. We've added an allowance for the collective bargaining agreements, both those that have been settled and those that we anticipate to settle this year. So that portion of the wages and benefit increase represents 90% of the total increase. The remainder is going to be used for adjustments to the salaries governed by Ordinance 2012-6 and 2012-22. Other expenditures, we budgeted $5,080,000. That's about $100,000 less than 2013. In 2013, the city issued various purpose notes in the amount of $1,375,000. The 2014 budget includes a 10% principal reduction, also the payment of interest on those notes, and then refunding them for 1 year in the amount of $1,237,500. This is done in anticipation of the ultimate exodus of American Greetings and loss of that almost $4 million in tax revenue. Also, we've got the landfill closure to deal with. We've got allocated almost $4 million, but that could go as high as $20 million given some of the projections that we've heard from the Ohio EPA. In addition, we've got fire improvement bonds. The bonds that were issued to build a firehouse, those have annual payments of $382,000. We've got the Ohio Public Works loan of $54,000 also. Last category of expenditures, the capital improvement budget. The mayor and I went over our budget. The mayor's asked that we allocate $2,697,084 for capital improvements. That includes improvements to roads, assets at the fire department, police department, improvements to the recreation department, service department, senior center, and also paying for current leases. So if our projections are right and we stay on budget, we should end up the year next year with a general fund balance of $10 million plus dollars. That concludes my report. President Gallagher.
Thank you. We'll now move on to legislation. First up, we have a liquor permit for 7-Eleven. And this is just a stock transfer. The address is 10300 Brook Park Road. I need a position of no objections.
I move for a position of no objection.
Second.
For a position of no objection, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Next up, we have ordinance 2014-4, amending section 1 of ordinance 2011-67, adopted November 28, 2011, entitled Approving and Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Community Reinvestment Area Tax Agreement with Cleveland Tax Solutions LLC at an estimated cost of $350,000 to reflect the name change and expansion at 4476 Ridge Road. Need a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-5, amending section 1 of ordinance 2011-66, adopted November 28, 2011, entitled Authorizing the City of Brooklyn to enter into a job creation grant agreement with Cleveland Tax Solutions LLC on behalf of Loving Cups Kids Academy of Brooklyn for the sole purpose of redeveloping the former Brooklyn Library properties into a child care center to reflect a name change.
Move to adopt.
Second.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Next up is the fact finder's report for the fire department. Council, would you like to move to executive session now or at the end of the meeting?
I would suggest at the end of the meeting so we don't keep the public waiting.
Anybody else? Mr. Clausen, would
Yes.
you like to explain the fact finder report now or after the executive session?
Probably after.
So next up, we have Resolution 2014-2 in support of the proposed Brooklyn School District Renewal Levy.
Move to put on first reading.
I'm sorry. Let me just explain. This levy states whereas proposed Brooklyn City School levy was initially passed in 1994, whereas the 6-year emergency renewal levy that will generate $2,175,000, whereas this renewal levy accounts for approximately 13% of the school's general fund budget and is crucial to maintain the financial stability of the Brooklyn schools, whereas this renewal levy will mean no increase in taxes to residents, whereas the Brooklyn City Council recognizes the importance and value of a good, stable school system to our entire community, whereas the Brooklyn City School District has demonstrated financial stability. I did talk to our treasurer, Todd Hopkins, today. He explained to me that this mill is 1.5 less than the original one in the 90s. So some residents will actually, they may see a decrease in taxes if passed.
Make a motion this be tabled.
Second.
To table, Kathy Pucci?
No.
Mary Bellbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
No.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Next up, ordinance 2014-10, the annual appropriations, as Mr. Enovich had already explained. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2014-11, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with civil and environmental consultants, CEC Incorporated, to provide consulting and other services for 2014 for the sanitary landfill in the amount not to exceed $35,150.
Introduce by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes. Mrs. Gallagher? Member.
Yes.
Mr. Verba, would you mind explaining the importance of us passing this by emergency this evening, just for the public's knowledge?
One of the tasks on that proposal is a NOV, which is a notice of violation that we have to respond by within a certain period of time. So we need to act on it.
Thank you, Mr. Verba.
Ordinance 2014-12, determining the percentage of gross receipts from the Brooklyn Municipal Income Tax to be deposited in the General Capital Improvement, Termination Leave Payments, and Retrospective Medical Claims Fund. This is on first reading, and specifically, this is to move 10 to 12% more into capital expenditures, moving 2% down to 1% in the termination leave fund, and from 1% to 0% in the retrospective medical claims fund. Next is 2014-13, enacting Section 1371, entering adjoining properties damaged to Chapter 13, Title 3, Building Code of the Brooklyn Codified Ordinances. Mr. Tansky already explained this. This is on first reading. And ordinance 2014-14, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Hai Chai Lu for the purchase of certain real property known as 8202 Memphis Avenue, permanent parcel 431-21028.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
And may I just make one brief comment, because I'll explain why we're passing this by emergency this evening. We actually had anticipated having this on the agenda last meeting, but we were working with the Realtor and the title company to reduce the cost to the city, and we were successful in doing that. So because it's a purchase of a piece of property, we don't want somebody else to come in and get it before we have the authorization to sign the purchase agreement. Thank you.
And the purchase is for $10,500.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Yes. Just so everybody knows, the piece of property we just bought is that vacant lot at Brookway in Memphis next to the animal shelter. So the city owns all that property then.
City Council will now adjourn to executive session to hear the fact finder's recommendations regarding the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Brooklyn, Ohio, and the International Association of Firefighters Local 1145. The mayor and our law director will be included in executive session. I need a motion, please.
Make that motion.
Second.
Do you want the finance director as well?
Scott is the finance director.
You want to be here, please? Yes.
To adjourn to executive session, Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer? Mary?
Yes.
Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Andy Selhertz?
Yes.
Katie Gallagher?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
When council returns, we will be voting on this matter.